St. Louis, a great place to age. We'll have more on that story next on City Corner. I'm Steve Potter. Welcome to City Corner. Today we're talking about St. Louis and aging and making St. Louis a great place to do that. Please welcome my guest. She is Lynn Friedman Hamilton. Hi, Lynn. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Happy to be here.
Oh, I don't know about this topic, though, aging. It's a little close to my heart.
Well, be glad you're there.
Beats the alternative, as they
It
say,
sure
right?
does. It's the right way to be and to enjoy the time and do what you want to do. Have a good time.
Hey, I'm
Try
trying.
new things.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. What you do is really interesting. You founded an organization a few years back called Maturity and its Muse.
Yes.
So what does that mean?
Well, it means, I think, that when we look at maturity, we look at people that could be our muses, that could be our inspiration as to how they're aging and what they've grabbed onto that is made them happy, content, youthful, engaged. And for mature people, which I like to think we all are, that's an important thing. And that was really, my first efforts were to showcase area artists over the age of 70 and that were still working, and use them as an example for other people as things that they could do.
Now that's what you're calling Case Fest.
Well, Case Fest
or am I mixed up?
is a subchapter, a subtitle. I mean, a subwork. How do I explain this? Case Fest is 3 years old, and this is its third year. And its long name is Celebrating Art for Senior Engagement. And it is a festival of 10 days with 82 plus events by 50 organizations in St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something that Maturity and its Muse produces.
We're going to talk more about that in just a second. Can we talk just about the general topic of aging, though? And why did you think there was a need to address this?
It all started really because I wanted to do something. I had a background in art, in events, and in working with older people. And like a cat with many lives, I decided I needed a new life. I needed some new energy for myself. So I wanted to do something in the art community with older people. And that's how I got involved in it. And it's like eating peanuts. One thing led to another. Then I started doing a program for older people that have memory care, involving them with the arts, involving them at the Botanical Garden, doing programs at the History Museum. Every time I did something, there was something else that I thought I could do with this subject and with the community in St. Louis.
But there's a reason you felt that way, right? Do you feel that people are devalued when they get older, or passed over, ignored? Am I going in the right direction?
Well, I think that there are some people that feel that they're devalued, passed over, and ignored. And some of them probably had those same thoughts as they were younger. And
You mean about the people older than them?
well, no, about themselves, that they were devalued and passed over. And that's one of the areas that we look to try and encourage people that don't have opportunities for art and aren't sought after. We like to find ways to get them to become involved. Because I think there are many segments of our community that haven't been to some of these arts institutions, and these arts institutions would love to have them come. As far as being devalued, well, it's a young world. It's the millennials. Everybody wants to cater to this group. Nobody wants to cater to the old people. We talk about entertainment at some of the organizations I belong to. Well, they don't care what an older person is interested in because they want new blood. You know, they want the young people, because youth, and they're right, youth is what keeps things going.
Right.
So I understand what you're saying and agree.
Yeah. Well, everything you said kind of rings a bell to me because I've finally gotten to that age when I never thought I was ever going to age till just a couple of years ago.
Well, it's a good thing you did. I get to be here with you.
Right. But so for the first time in my life, those things are crossing my brain, getting older and my life sort of changing. But you have an interesting discussion where you talk about what is old age, right? And different people see that in a different way. Some people think 50 is old.
Well, I think that there are boundaries. 50 is old, 55 is, you can be ARP. 65, you could be Social Security. So there are all these preconceived ages that make a person think, oh, I'm getting old, I can do ARP, oh, I'll get this magazine, oh, all these things. But there's so much joy. It could be, if you don't have to get up and work every day at a certain point, and you can do what you want to do. You always wanted to play the harmonica, so now you have time. And it's you can get engaged in other things.
Uh-huh. And that's what this upcoming Case Fest is all about.
Yes, that's what it is. It's all about learning, seeing what's out there, and getting inspired to do something that you wanted to do. Maybe you wanted to play the piano, and maybe you did a little bit when you were young, but then you didn't. So now, hey, here's a place where they do piano. You can get involved.
Right. So Case Fest is a combination of performances, art shows, all different kinds of things?
Lectures, participatory workshops, shows, exhibits, talks, tours.
What's going on here?
I have to put. This is a woman that's. Okay, this is a woman that's come to one of our projects at the county library. And the county library is one of our great partners because they have events at all of their branches. And here she is doing coloring by number. And the pictures that come out are outstanding from this. And you can see how involved she is.
Right. Let's look at the next one.
And this is another person. And all ready to do something, and they have the supplies for you. Every branch of the library has something different this time.
So the people involved in this, they don't necessarily have experience in what they're doing?
No, you just come and try something new. If you see something on our calendar and you think you'd want to come to it, you just go. Some of the things on the calendar request that you call and make a reservation because they want to have the right amount of supplies. Mm-hmm. And you just go and give something a try. You bring a friend.
How many people participate in this every year?
It's hard to say, but I hope billions. But, yeah, right. Big number. I like to think that way.
Uh-huh. Let's take a look at another image we have. We're talking about Case Fest, which is coming up.
And here's a group that we do. We have a project within Case Fest called Art Age, and it's seniors making self-portraits. And we put out an activity guide, and a lot of memory care facilities, the various branches of the county library have these classes where they give you 4 or 5 different ways that you can make a selfie. Mm-hmm. And so it's neat, and that's what this is all about.
A selfie for seniors.
Yes, yes.
What's happening here?
Same thing. She's stitching something that's going to come out into an eyeglass case, I think. That's one of the library things. And this is an exhibit that we had last year that was really a fiber exhibit at the St. Louis Artists Guild.
Kind of looks like quilting or something.
Yes, isn't it beautiful?
It is.
Yeah.
And so there are all these activities at multiple locations, right?
Yes.
And so who's in charge of all these individual locations? Are these professional artists or what?
Well, each location gets in touch with me and says that they would like to participate in the festival. And they sign up. There's no charge to them to be part of it. And so we list them on the calendar, and we offer them postcards to send out to people, and we have posters for them. And so really, each, say Lawmeyer Sculpture Park, their event happens to be being run by someone that helps me out in marketing, and they'll have it on their calendar. They'll have the supplies there. People will go and participate. It's called Throw and Go, and you make a sculpture and you put seeds in it. When you go home, you can throw it on your lawn or in your garden, and you'll grow flowers from it.
Wow. Do you find that people go to more than one?
I think people do go to more than one, because in 10 days you can go all over the city and county. And sometimes, because we have so many, 82 events, a lot of them overlap.
You have 82 events in 10 days?
Yes. Yes. It's really quite exciting. Yeah.
And how did you actually start this?
I started it because a number of people in various arts organizations said to me a few years ago, "We want to bring your people. We know you have a lot of people that follow you and come to all the events that you have. And how can we get them to come to our museum? We want to showcase what we have." And 2 or 3 people said that at different museums, venues, and I thought, okay, I could do this. So I decided to do it, and of course, I couldn't do just one day. That wouldn't be exciting enough, so
Right.
I decided to do 10 days.
Did it catch on right away?
Well, it caught on, and I think the first year we maybe had 60 events, and then last year we crept up to a little bit close to 70, and this year at 82, I'm really surprised. And some of them have 3 or 4 organizations joining together to put on a program, which is also something that's very dear to my heart because it's collaborative.
Are there any rules about who can participate? Does a person have to be a certain age or anything?
You mean to come to the programs? Well, I think a baby could come. They're all intergenerational. There's nothing that really screams you must be sitting in a rocking chair all the time. There might be some that are about how you're going to, what you might feel like, in retirement. There might be some things that go that way, but there's nothing that nobody's carded.
Well, do you find that an event like Case Fest maybe encourages older people who might not just go to these organizations? This is the kind of the motivation they need to get out?
That's what I'm hoping, and that's one of the reasons that we started it. And then this year I have transportation, so that if people are unable to come, because transportation, if you're a senior, can be one of the single most reasons you don't get anywhere. So I've received a grant from the Kahn Foundation that I'm going to use for transportation. So if people get in touch with me and say that they'd like to come to an event at the St. Louis Art Museum, I can find a way for them to get there.
You say you don't charge organizations for being involved. How do you finance what you do?
Well, it's funded I have a small coterie of supporters that believe in what we do, and they help out.
That's great. It's Case Fest coming up April 19th through 29th at various locations. And you can find out more about that and what the locations are and what they're doing at those locations if you go to maturityanditsmuse.org. And we'll have more with Lynn Friedman Hamilton right after this.
Welcome, innovators, dreamers, pioneers of the 21st century. We've been expecting you to come discover your dreams and make your ideas take flight. Just like so many explorers that came before you. Welcome to the hub of opportunity. Welcome to St. Louis. Always exploring.
Bye-bye.
Hi. Hoping for a crisp breeze to help keep you alert. Oh, he took a sip of water too. That'll probably help. You were probably gonna turn down the radio too, so you could focus, right?
Probably okay isn't okay.
Right.
If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
I think the water line is what really drove it home. I blew on him.
I'm Steve Potter. Welcome back to City Corner. And today we're talking with Lynn Friedman Hamilton about her organization, Maturity and its Muse. And what they're doing is putting on their annual event, Case Fest, which is 10 days of art and artistic activities, mostly involving seniors. Is that a good way to put it?
That is a good way to put it. It's encouraging seniors to come out to these events.
And I have to just jump in, Lynn, because when I first saw your last name, Hamilton, I just saw that at the Fox recently. Have you seen the show?
Not yet.
Do you identify with it because of your name?
Well, I do, and I always say I'm not related, but that's how it's spelled, because nobody knew how to spell it until the show came out.
Right. Oh.
But I'm doing the lottery, and so far I haven't been successful.
I'll keep my fingers crossed for
Thank you.
So Case Fest, this annual thing that's coming up, it's something like 80-something different activities over a 10-day period all over St. Louis, right?
Yes.
And that's just been going on a few years?
This is the third year, yes.
And it stands for Celebrating Art for Senior Engagement.
Yes.
So you're trying to keep seniors engaged? Is that kind of it in a nutshell?
I'm trying to keep seniors engaged. I'm trying to keep seniors coming to the arts organizations in St. Louis and exploring and finding new ones, because there's so much out there and so many people that we have that are talented. And when you go out and you do something, then you have something to talk about. It's all about sharing experiences. And I think that's also a wonderful part is if you are more homebound as a senior, the opportunity to get dressed, get picked up, which I would arrange, and go somewhere and enjoy it, have a good time, and come back and tell your friends about it. It's really special.
It gets boring sitting at home every day.
Well, I think there's opportunities. You love your home more maybe if you go out sometimes.
I think you're right. Let's take a look at an image, and you can tell us.
Oh, these people, this is great. This is the Big Muddy. And
Big Muddy Dance Company?
Yes, and the Big Muddy Dance Company are loves. Each year for Case Fest, they invite me to find an organization where they can perform for free, and just as a do-good opportunity for everyone. And each of the organizations where they perform, no, people out, the public can't come in because there might be a security reason, or the people that live there aren't able to be known, but they're all older people, and the Big Muddy is wonderful about it.
Is this Big Muddy also?
Yes, yes.
I saw a performance of theirs just recently at the Grandel, part of a Dance St. Louis event, and they were superb.
I was there.
Were you?
Yeah, it was great. Yes, those three organizations were terrific. Yes.
Tell me about something you're doing with the St. Louis Artists Guild.
Oh, St. Louis Artists Guild is a wonderful venue because the parking is easy. It's in Clayton. It's in the old famous bar building, if people are St. Louisans and know it. And they always have wonderful exhibits, and they're a good friend to Maturity and its Muse and Case Fest. And I've introduced them to St. Louis Storytelling Festival. And last year they did a joint project where we had a First Nation person come, and it had to do with the show that was up at the Artists Guild. This year we're having Grupo Atlantico along with the Storytelling Festival, and Grupo Atlantico is Latin American dancing and poetry. And so they'll have marachis, they'll have music, they'll have costumes. This will be on Saturday morning, April 28th. At 10:30 in the morning is a meet and greet, and then the program begins at 11 o'clock. And it's really intergenerational.
I'm going to plug that St. Louis Storytelling Festival. I haven't done it for a few years, but for 5 years in a row, I used to MC the grand finale event at the Two Hill. And it just is, if no one has ever been to anything the Storytelling Festival does, they should.
Well, I agree with you. And the last 2 years, when they've participated, people have come to the events that they've had because they love storytelling and they're followers of storytelling in itself. So it was a way to get to meet new people. And Lisa Overhauser, who is the director now, is a wonderful person, and I've introduced her to several organizations in the past couple of years that are now repeat locations for storytelling.
You know what I found out from being involved with them, I didn't realize it, that we're all storytellers and just don't realize it.
Some are better at telling than others.
You're right about that.
But I think anybody could, and there's no reason that an older person couldn't get involved that way.
Right. Well, Lynn, since you're doing all this with the arts, do you have an arts background yourself?
I have a background in the arts in that I love the arts. I'm an appreciator. I've had an art gallery in St. Louis during the 1980s, and I was a docent at Lawmeyer Sculpture Park. I've just always, I love artists. I admire them. Probably one of the reasons.
Is there a story to this one?
Oh, there's a story to that. Well, that's me. And this is down at the Contemporary Art Museum. It's a show that's up now, and it's extraordinarily beautiful. This is one of the pieces in it. Contemporary Art Museum is going to be one of our locations for our venue. It will be April 22nd at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The Director of Education is going to lead a tour of everything that's in the museum, and then the attendees will go into their workshop room and make self-portraits. And someone that works with me is coming to lead that part of it, and everyone is welcome. So I think it's going to be a fun afternoon.
How about Temple Israel?
Temple Israel, well, Temple Israel's been with us since the beginning, and they have a choir that is volunteer, that comes, they're people that don't sing professionally, they just love to sing, and so they're hosting a concert on Sunday, April 29th at 2:30 in the afternoon at Temple Israel. And again, good parking, come enjoy light refreshments, I believe is what they're offering, and then they have show tunes, religious tunes, all kinds of tunes. It's a very uplifting way to end it's the end of the festival, so it's a nice commencement for it.
Who doesn't love show tunes?
Yes.
Let's take a look at a few more images from your event. And what is this?
This was something several years ago where people were wrapping themselves up at Craft Alliance, and they brought in all kinds of materials and just sort of were hiding in them. It was fun, yeah. Sometimes, you know, the idea also is to expand what people think art is. Because somebody might look at that and see it's a clothesline.
Right,
But
especially with contemporary art.
Yes.
Not everybody gets contemporary art at first.
Yes, and you don't have to get it, because sometimes there's nothing to get. You can just like it.
Yeah, just for the experience,
For
or
the
the
experience,
emotions of
the
it.
emotions, the color maybe excites you. You may look at it and think, oh, I have something at home. I might make a skirt. I mean, you know, one thing leads to another when a person sees it.
Let's take a look at another image.
This was also at the Contemporary Art Museum, and I think they're stunning pieces. This is sort of African in its aspect. It looks like it could be clothing. These are the kinds of things people can see that they don't normally. You don't walk around town and see this. You have to go somewhere.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Let's look at one more.
Okay. Oh, okay. So this is very interesting. It's kind of personal, its own way. This is St. Louis Gateway Harmonica Club, and they're quite well known. They did a performance with me last spring for the first time, and lo and behold, one of the harmonica players was my first date ever.
What?
Yes, my very first date ever. So we had a reunion on the stage when he played.
Did you remember each other?
Well, yes, and his wife was there, so I met his wife. So it was very cute. And then through that, someone I know asked me about what I was doing, and I told him I was working with this kind of entertainment. He said, well, you know, I've always wanted to play the harmonica. And I said, well, I've got the perfect person for you. So I made an email introduction to my friend, my old date, and this gentleman that I knew from Rotary. And the two of them hit it off, and the man is coming to the Gateway harmonica workshops, and he signed up to take classes at one of the community colleges. So it's how these things happen.
I did a radio interview a few years ago where someone taught me on the air to play the harmonica. It's more fun than you think.
Well, I guess so. Stan Musial was part of the Gateway Harmonic Club.
No kidding.
And Richard Heyman from the County Pops. And so, I mean, people don't give it the respect I think that they should.
Right. You do anything with the St. Louis Art Museum?
We are doing lots of things with St. Louis Art Museum. They're really good people. They have a docent tour every day, and it all has to do with water. And somehow it ties in with the Egyptian show that they're having. So they go through and they picked a particular topic, and all the shows that the art that they're going to take you to will relate to that. They're also doing something on embroidery, so there are lectures on embroidery that they're featuring during this time period.
In the time we have remaining, let's take a look at some more images we have of the event, which is Case Fest coming up.
And this was last year at the St. Louis Artists Guild. We invited a group to come in these are people that came here from Nepal. And we invited them to come over and make self-portraits, and we're going to have them back again this year, and we're also going to have a Chinese group come in, and because they'll have a Chinese show up, and that artist will do watercolors with a group of seniors.
Let's keep looking at these.
So you see how engrossed people are. They're really involved in what they're making.
Well, and it's exciting for someone that maybe hadn't done anything new for a while, to do something for the first time, something challenging.
Yeah, I mean, watercolor, it's just like, having a good time with your hands and trying different colors and seeing how the water works with it. It's neat.
So what would you recommend people do? You've got 80-something events over this, was it 10-day period?
Yes.
Right? What's the best way to figure this all out?
Well, if I wanted to know, I would go to the website, maturityanditsmuse.org, and hit /calendar, or there's a tab at the top that you can find it that way, and see our calendar. Because our calendar lists everything with complete descriptions, locations, a map of how to get there. And that's what I would do. Then I would also determine if I needed transportation.
And that's something new you're doing
and
this year.
I would get in touch with me about that.
Yeah.
And because I want to do this. It's very important to me that we get people to come to the events.
Yeah. I'm curious about the kind of feedback that you get from people. Let me just repeat again. Case Fest, April 19th through 29th, various locations. Go to maturityanditsmuse.org. But the feedback you get from the people that actually go, what do you hear?
They love it. They say, "Oh, I'm so glad to know about this." And they come with a little piece of paper where they've written down, they've printed out maybe part of the calendar. And if anybody wants and they email me, I can send it to them as a PDF also if that's a help to them. And they come around and they say, "Oh, we never knew about this. We never knew that this museum existed. Well, this is fun. This is interesting. We love this gallery tour. We like to meet the artist." There are lots of things that can pique a person's curiosity and be very satisfactory.
Well, we want to thank you so much, Lynn Friedman Hamilton. What a great thing you're doing. Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be here.
I'm Steve Potter. That's all we have for this edition of City Corner. Thanks for watching.